Alright, let's take a look at Superman number 124 from September 1958. This comic features 3 Superman stories, where Superman was at an all-time high in popularity in the late 50s. The TV series had just went off the air, but is now going into syndicated reruns. That's the George Reeves series. This cover features the first story, where Superman fights a knight with a magic sword. This cover art is by Curt Swan and Stan K. So this first story is Superman, the Super Sword. This is written by Jerry Coleman and penciled and inked by Al Plastino. And usually there's a larger panel that depicts what you're going to see in the rest of the comic. So this knight's sword can cut Superman. I don't know if it's known at this point that magic is a weakness for Superman. That's not really explicitly said here. But here they talk about a crime boss who got away with his crimes in a court where basically it was declared a mistrial, and so there's a knight trapped in ice, and Superman flies over to break the knight free, and they realize that the knight is alive. And the knight's like, I'm known as the Black Knight, and this is King Arthur's enchanted sword. Take me to your ruler. I offer him my service. And so the press is all aghast. They're like, oh my god, you know, this knight, and they back it up with some sort of like tale of Merlin from some book somewhere. I don't know. And so the knight goes on a rampage and like, you know, is cutting through armored cars to get at money and gold and like safes and like cutting through police cars. And so Superman has to defeat this foe. The thing is that like it's depicted as this guy's sword can actually stab Superman. Superman looks all like confident and stuff, but then there's like a news camera. These cameras, you couldn't just like walk around with them. So I don't know how they set this tripod up on this this car. Like this is back in the old days. Anyways, they filmed the knight stabbing Superman. And Superman is weakened by this sword, and everyone's like, oh my god, what do we do now? So he's rushed off to the hospital, and it's in the newspaper, Superman wounded by the Black Knight. And all over the world, people are like, oh my god, like the end of a legend. And this kid's making fun of Superman as he's walking around in crutches and stuff with like an arm in a sling, and he's walking right by a poster where he's like, you know, standing ground against a rhino. And so this knight is employed by the dude that was let go of all charges in the beginning of the story. And so the guy takes the knight's sword and stabs Superman with it. And here he's continuing to stab Superman. It's the end of Superman. And so he gives the sword back to the knight, and pays the knight, you know, for the services of giving him the sword. But Superman arrives, and so the guy's like, I got the sword, I can, you know, but the sword has no effect on Superman. And they reveal that Superman and the Black Knight were in cahoots to draw this guy out so they could arrest him again, I guess for the attempted murder of Superman. I don't know. And the Black Knight was revealed to be Perry White. Perry White was the Black Knight all along. And so Perry White conspired with Superman to catch this guy. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. He runs a newspaper. Anyways, that's the story. And of course, Clark Kent winks at the camera. Well, not camera. He winks at the reader. The end. The next story is Superman and Mrs. Superman. This is written by Otto Binder with pencils and inks by Kurt Schaffenberg. And so Superman and Lois are going to be on this desert island here. This is the big panel that just previews what you're going to see. And so Superman and Lois are, well, Clark and Lois are flying back from some sort of like assignment. Something goes wrong and they have to parachute out of this helicopter down to this desert island. And a meteor had shot into the volcano. Superman's powers aren't the same as they were before, and he realizes that the meteorite was a giant block of kryptonite that went into this volcano. The volcano shoots out a whole sort of radiation dome of kryptonite. And so while Superman can use some of his powers on the island, he can't fly off the island. He can't leave the island without dying. He sees that there are, natives and stuff on this island. So Clark goes back to Lois and reveals that he is in fact Superman, because they're gonna have to live there for the rest of their lives or whatever. He can't leave the island. So he's like, it's done, it's over. It's like, I'm Superman, it's over. I've been living a lie all this time, and now we can get married and live on this island for the rest of our lives. Lois is happy. This dude is like, I will, perform the ceremony and everything, but it's gotta be done at the next, whatever moon. And Superman builds this big, luxurious house out of the local trees. A fissure has opened up in the volcano and sunk that giant block of kryptonite deeper into the earth, and now Superman can fly around again, and he can leave the island. But Lois is getting ready for their big, island wedding. So Superman creates a bunch of gadgets to try and get out of this situation. Like, oh, we really want to marry Lois. He comes back, he's like, I'm Clark, I lied. I'm not really Superman. And it's like, look, this is how I recreated my powers. And, of course, everything back in the 50s was like, if you have a big enough magnet, you can just do anything. It's bullcrap. But, look, if you wear this belt, you can fly just like Superman. That's how I did it. Never mind that someone was not here operating this thing. Look, it's a paper mache rock. It wasn't a real rock. Look, I ignited these trees on fire with this this torch or whatever. And she's like, okay. So you're not Superman. All right, fine. Clark then throws a message in a bottle to this ship, saying we're on this island, please rescue us. And so they get rescued. There was a gang that was out to get Lois. When she went to Metropolis. They're now arrested. I think it had to do with Lois couldn't be rescued herself by herself without Clark. If you're thinking, well, if Superman can't leave the island, why can't Lois? But I think that was the reason they were saying that if she went back to Metropolis, she would be killed by these guys. But they're arrested too. And anyways, she's like, Superman didn't really want me to marry you, Clark. It was all just a plot to keep me there. Well, if Superman feared for my life, maybe he really does love me and will marry me someday. And Clark's like, somehow I just can't win. And then that's the story of Mrs. Superman. And this is Superman, the Steeplejack of Steel. This is written by Otto Binder, with pencils by Wayne Boring, and inks by Stan Kay. And so in this story, Superman goes undercover. So here this building is cracking apart. Superman saves the building, but he's like, was it just an accident? Or wait, that contractor, Bart Benson, has a shady reputation for using shoddy building materials. He's buying cheap substitutes to save money. And so here's the dude in question. Superman is like, let me go undercover as this dude. So now he's this working Joe guy that comes in. And the guy immediately senses he's a phony. He's like, what's this? His hands aren't calloused like a workman's should be. He's a phony. So he tries to put this guy through his paces. And it's really like Clark in disguise. So they're walking on these rafters and everything. But he's Superman, so he's like, look, I can swing around and stuff. Look, I'm performing one hand stands and everything. Then this guy tries to throw hot rivets at Superman, but Superman catches them. The problem is that no one can do that, so he makes it out to look like he's using asbestos gloves. And so this guy's like, the railroad tracks are flooded out of town. That's good news, boss. When my building materials won't arrive, I'll have a good excuse for laying off that snoopy new worker. I don't know how, but Clark is like, you know what, let me try and fix this. So Superman unfloods this area, and the train arrives with the shoddy building materials. They try to give him a torch that doesn't work, but Superman uses X-ray vision to heat stuff with the torch nearby, and it looks like, the torch works. And so they're trying hard to get rid of this guy. He's like, next I'll handle this giant crane myself, sending up girders. And so he's trying to destroy Clark with these girders, but it doesn't work because he's Superman. So this dude is like, listen here, Tom, we're both cashing in by using cheap stuff and charging full prices. But if the material's too bad, we'll get caught. So Superman's like, now's my chance to find out who his racketeering partner is. And so he follows the impulses of the phone lines to this dude, T.B. Oliver, eh? So they try to murder Clark by dousing him with quick drying cement. And when he frees himself from the cement, he's Superman. And I don't know why they can't like put two and two together, but anyways, he chases these guys and he catches them, and then he writes a paper about it. And he's like, I'm flattered the warden at the jail also arranged for Benson and Oliver to have a cell from which they have a full view of Superman's Sky Tower, which is the tower that Superman created. I can hear their teeth grinding from here. So there you go. Those are the 3 stories in Superman 124 from September 1958. I hope you enjoyed going through these with me. If you like what you saw, please give a like to this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Lots of great comic book stuff on here. So until next time, take care.